The biggest Age of Empires event ever just ended, and it's a great time to ask ourselves who is the best Age of Empires player. And I don't mean the original Age of Empires, I mean the best player of the whole franchise. So what are our criteria? Well, the best AoE player would need to have performed at the highest level in multiple titles. To this day we have 5 titles: Age of Empires 1, 2, 3, 4 and Age of Mythology. And no, I'm not counting Age of Empires Online nor Mobile because they were developed by a different studio and don't feel like the rest of the franchise. Okay, so what is the easiest way to compare our players? What if we had them play a best of 5, but every single game of that best of 5 is played on a different title? And then whoever wins the best of 5 would be crowned the better Age of Empires player. Let's start by examining the champions of Red Bull Wololo Reinado. The champion of AoE 1 is Chim Se Di Nang. Please forgive my pronunciation. Chim Se is considered the best player in the game and by far. From what us Westerners know, Chim Se also won Red Bull Wololo Legacy and pretty convincingly. I looked at his past results and it seems like he hasn't lost a single 1v1 match in years. But Chim Se has never really shined in another Age of Empires title, so we'll have to remove him from our contenders list. The champion of AOM is TheMista, and now we have a very interesting case. TheMista is one of the 3 M's, alongside Magic and Magyar, who won nearly every Age of Mythology tournament in which one of them participated. Magyar kinda stopped playing these days, although there are rumors he might make a comeback, but more importantly for Case, he has never competed in another title, unlike Magic and Mista. Magic is a solid contestant because he became one of the best players of Age of Mythology at the age of 13, and that's a big sign of a prodigy. And Magic has played a solid amount of AoE 4. In Genesis, one of the early big AoE 4 tournaments, he reached round of 32, and then he qualified for Red Bull Wololo Legacy, in which he will lose in quarterfinals. And if he had moved on, he would have played Mista. That's right, Mista also played AoE 4 and to quite some level. He got 2nd place in Genesis, 5th place in N4C, which was a big LAN event in Germany, and finally placed 2nd in Red Bull Wololo Legacy. While it's up to debate if Mista is better than Magic at Age of Mythology, it's pretty clear in AoE 4, Mista just has better results. Moving on to our next champion, Marinelord. He won Red Bull Wololo Reinado, as well as Red Bull Wololo Legacy, as well as the Elite Classic 1 and 2. I'll cut it short, Marinelord is just winning everything in AoE 4 lately. But the big question is, has he played another title? Well, kinda. He played a good amount of AoE 2 and reached 2k Elo, which is well inside the top 1%, but not close to the pro level, which would be around 2k6 Elo. As a side note, Marinelord was also a pro in StarCraft 2 and Overwatch, but those don't count as Age of Empires titles, so we have to remove him from the list. And finally, the last champion of Red Bull Wololo Reinado is Hera. Age of Empires 2 is the game I follow the most out of the whole franchise, and let me tell you, Hera is the best player right now, and by a solid margin. And I see you guys in the back raising your hands. No, Viper is no longer the best player, but we'll come back to him later. Hera won everything in 2023 and 2024. But has he played another title? Well, yes, for a short while. He played Age of Empires 4 and quickly reached a solid level. He made it to the quarterfinals of Genesis and won the Winter Championships against Marinelord, shortly before retiring from the game to focus on AoE 2. He showed great potential, but being the best in one of the titles required so much work and time that it's nearly impossible to be pro at 2 titles. So if Hera and Marinelord were to play this legendary best of 5, they would beat basically anyone in their respective titles, but what about the other 4? Okay, so far we have one solid contender, TheMista. He would beat anyone in AOM and has a great shot at winning in AoE 4. Of the 3 other games, he would just need to win 1 to secure W. But what if we were to take someone who wasn't the best at any of the titles but was good at all of them? If you lose to TheMista in AOM and AoE 4 but beat him in AoE 1, 2 and 3, then you'd win the best of 5, right? So let's look at the OG AoE player. The dad of the game, the guy who's been around the longest and who has touched every single game of the franchise, Darko Dautovic.
Daut's won the championship!
If you're confused why everyone cheered when I said his name, it's because Daut is 39 years old, much older than any other pro I've mentioned so far and the funniest dude I've ever met. Daut is a legend of the franchise not only thanks to his level of play, but also because he's naturally a good guy. He tilts, he laughs, he has fun and sometimes he wins, but through all of this he takes us with him for a thrilling journey.
I didn't qualify, man. He's there with the players, I'm here.
Let's start with AoE1. Daut has played a good amount, but he never went pro because mainly he didn't try to. When AoE1 was ported to AoE2 DE in the Return of Rome expansion, Daut played a tournament or two. It's important to note that most of the Vietnamese community didn't bother to play Return of Rome, so players like Chim Se Di Nang did not participate in those tournaments. But still, Daut got second place, losing to Cool in the finals. Not quite the level of Chim, but still higher than 99% of the people. Moving on to AoE2, Daut was tied to be the best AoE2 player for a while, but that was before Viper took over the scene. But Daut remained a top 8 player for years, winning Red Bull Wololo 3 in 2021 and only very recently struggling to reach top 8. So with the exception of 8 to 10 players in the world, Daut would beat anyone in AoE2. Pretty solid so far, so let's continue with AoE4. Daut played a good bunch when it came out. He placed 40th in the Golden League, top 32 in the Winter Championship, and top 24 in both N4C qualifiers. So he's good, not pro, but good enough to beat anyone outside of the top 50. What about Age of Mythology? Well, back in 2003, he came in second in the Arbaleth Cup. So he used to play quite well and picked it up again with the release of Rituals. He is currently number 50 on the ladder and reached the round of 64 in the qualifier for Red Bull Wololo El Reinado. You see where I'm going with this, Daut is good enough to beat anyone outside of the top 50. Now imagine Daut goes up against Mista in our legendary best of 5.
We are going to see Daut. He is the favorite coming into this. In a way, the dark horse. It is the one, the only,
TheMista.
and he's got a big old smile on his face. He could easily do it, is what I'm hearing from all the players.
They would start with AoE1, which Daut would clearly win. In AoE2, Daut would also get the win, leading 2-0. But moving on to AoE4 and AoM, he wouldn't stand a chance. Mista would thus tie the score 2-2, and it would come down to AoE3. Couldn't find much data, but Daut played a ton of the game when it came out, and he was considered one of the best players at the early days of the game. And when AoE3 DE came out, he picked it up again for content purposes. Meanwhile, Mista, well, I couldn't find any evidence that he played as much AoE3 as Daut has. Do we then have a champion? Is Daut the best AoE player of all time? Well, there's two more names we need to look into: Viper and Tato. TheViper is considered the GOAT of AoE2 by the majority of the game's community. Before Hera came around, Viper was the best for close to a decade. Nowadays he's number 2, meaning he should beat Daut, taking the lead 1-0. Viper also reached a solid level in AoE4, he was the one to beat Mista in the finals of Genesis, thus winning the first ever S-tier AoE4 tournament. He came in 3rd in the Golden League, top 8 in N4C, top 12 in Red Bull Wololo Legacy. He was actually one of the 2 players who qualified for the 2 games during that event, AoE2 and AoE4, but truth be told, he quit playing AoE4 even before the event happened, so it's still crazy that he didn't end up last there. Okay, so I think that's a win for Viper, who's now 2-0 against Daut. Regarding AoE1, Viper hasn't really touched the original game, but when Return of Rome came out, he played a ton of it. That said, he never really faced Daut, and because Daut has much more experience in the game and also tournament results to back it up, I think we have to give this win to Daut. Moving on to game 4, we have Age of Mythology. That's an easy one. Both of them are playing a solid amount of ranked 1v1 these days, so we can look at the ranking. Daut is 50th, and Viper is number 180. 2-2, once again, we move on to the last title, AoE3. And for this one, it's pretty clear. In 2021, ECG TV hosted an AoE3 DE show match between Viper and Daut. Some kind of best of 7 and $500 for the winner. It was a beating. Viper lost 4-0, thus losing our legendary best of 5 against Daut. And finally we have Tato, who's considered a top 5 AoE2 player, but that has also touched every single title of the franchise. In AoE2 it's pretty clear Tato is the favorite against Daut, but in the other games it's going to be much closer. In Age of Mythology, Tato is ranked 500, meaning that Daut would probably win that game, tying the score 1-1. Regarding AoE1, Tato and Daut faced each other in the Return of Rome Championship. It went to the decider and Daut ended up winning 5-4. But this isn't enough to call a clear winner, and to be fair it's also the same in AoE4, where they have similar tournament results but they never really faced each other. Regarding AoE3, Tato never participated in an official tournament, but played a ton of games. So who would be the winner? Well, I was lucky enough to be at Red Bull Wololo Arenado, so I asked Daut and Tato their opinion. Guess what? They both think they would win, so we have a tie. But personally, I would take Daut as my champion to become the GOAT of AoE. If you disagree, I would love to hear your opinions and arguments in the comments below. But to be fair, there's a lot of names I didn't dig into, such as Capoch, who's good at AoE 2 and AoE 4, or Vortex, who's good at AoE 4 and AoM, and so on and so on. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.